All right, so this is a Letter to the Left podcast. This will be episode 2. My name is Nolan Hesse, and once again, this podcast is all about kind of trying to paint a good macro, simple to digest picture of what's going on, specifically this country, when it comes to politics. And really, it's more like it's not really right leaning, but it's more like as a right wing or more right wing person trying to talk to the left, right? So that's kind of like where I'm trying to go with this. Obviously, I apologize because I'm just getting this thing started, so the video quality ain't good yet, but it'll get there, I think, as we move forward. So before we do this, could you please just like and subscribe because it helps me out. Again, trying to make this a thing because I think where we're headed down this path in politics is like just complete division, and it's going to turn into some sort of utter anarchy, in my opinion. But anyway, I digress. I'm going to get to this. And yeah, so I'm just going to spend about 20, 30, 40 minutes talking about this topic today. And the topic today is the fraction of the right. So as we've seen today, it is January 7th, 2026. There's a lot of factions kind of evolving on the right. In the last episode, I kind of talked about how like there's more political diversity on the right. That's a fact. There's been surveys that have done on that, and how that's starting to rear its ugly head on one side because of what this administration has been doing or what is perceived to not been doing. Right. As I get into that, so first off, we have a lot of key players in all this fragmented right wing turmoil that we're seeing, right? We're seeing a lot of influencers are the good example. Nick Fuentes is a good one. Tucker Carlson, more of a journalist. And then like Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro, people like that. And they've all kind of started getting in their own camps and started kind of trying to drill each other on what is going on here. In reality, a lot of that's based in ignorance. It's just a fact. Like you have Candace Owens, who's already suspect, and I'll get a little bit of that later. But you have Nick Fuentes, who's kind of going on about disproportionate Jewish control of Western civilization, which isn't necessarily untrue, I guess. But it's not like he's trying to paint a picture that like the Trump administration isn't doing deportation, that they're not doing what they promised, when in reality there's a little bit more to that, right? There's more context as to why some of the things that we have been seeing just aren't as good. So I'm going to start with that. So Nick Fuentes, a lot of the things he claims are like they're not deporting people, they're importing people in, or they're not getting it done fast enough, or there's been zero promises kept, or the spending and the spending bill that happened that was $5 trillion over 10-year time frame. And he's like, well, what is this fiscal responsibility? This is America First, which to an extent, I will say this, like there are criticisms from the America First that are completely justified, that we are doing way too much for our allies, our quote unquote allies, right? Like Israel, for example. Like there is a truth there that Israel does not like us. That's a fact. They don't. That's pretty much documented. Israelis don't like us. Israel themselves as a government doesn't like us, but they're using us in order as essentially a sugar daddy, and that's just exactly what it's coming down to. Now, granted, with that, there's more to it than just like, hey, this whole administration's bought and paid for. Well, it all goes back to APAC and like situations like that where you have these lobbying groups that are just so powerful. And you have it on the other side too. If you don't think that there's not lobbying groups for China, Russia, Iran, that all happened when lobbying became a thing. All right. We've been under influence of foreign agitators for decades. Not to say that's a good thing. I'm not. But that's a reality that people have to deal with. And in order to do that, you have to play the game a little bit. So, like, that's where I push back on people like Nick Fuentes, because he comes across as all this, and then because of all this turmoil that we're seeing, like, for example, immigration, all these judges that keep throwing these completely bogus injunctions on the Trump administration for doing his job as the executive, because the executive has jurisdiction over the border, and you see them constantly just throwing essentially shit at a wall to see what sticks. You see Nick Fuentes almost blaming Trump and the administration, like, oh, this is his fault. Well, this is just not realistic. All right, it's just not, because again, there's other processes and a huge bureaucracy that's inflated. You have to give it time, and you have to keep chipping away at it. It's not something that you just go, oh well, it wasn't up to par this quick. Like, things take time. All right, they really do, especially immigration. You got to put in mind that ICE only had like 10 to 20,000 agents when they got in, and there's millions and millions of illegal migrants in this country that took advantage of the Biden years. And so you have to be able to chill out and be like, all right, first of all, they need to hire people, right? Well, that's not the first thing. The first thing they do is they stop the flow, which is what they did, all right? No matter what you believe in, the Trump administration did a fantastic job of what they said. They were going to stop the immigration at the border. It's a year in, okay, to his presidency, and there has been literally like zero or something actual people who have crossed the border illegally and actually gotten away. All right. So it's insane. Like, it's actually crazy how like shut down the border is. And that's like the first step. The second step is starting to work through these rounds of like, hey, we're undermanned and outgunned because ICE and DHS and all these people are. All right. And to turn all guns towards that, then they have to lose a lot of guns towards the corruption stuff you guys care about. Like all that stuff, right? Other criminal organizations, actual terrorism and anti-terrorism groups that go after terrorists, like they get turned away. So you have to like still use your jurisdiction and which kind of groups in those law enforcement entities, and you have to still stay in your lane, if you will, in order to actually make this work. But with that being said, the next step would be a propaganda campaign, which is what you saw. And I saw a lot of like the America First people. What is this pageantry going on? It's like, no. That's not pageantry. We're in a propaganda war. That's a fact. All right. When Trump became president again, the corporate media became a propagandized machine of constantly warping statistics and warping reality in order to push like all the abuela and all this father that got snatched up by ICE and didn't have a criminal record or anything. And it's like they're ignoring the thousands and thousands and thousands of illegal migrants that have been just swooped up that have like extensive vile criminal records. You know, they're just ignoring that, and they pick out the one or two that are going to get snatched up naturally because, well, these people live in communities, and those communities tend to be hotbeds, and when there's hotbeds, you tend to get strays. All right. So what they did was they did a huge propaganda campaign. That's what you see on Twitter, where you see all the videos of them with their planes and flying people to El Salvador and all these other countries and dropping them off with military escorts. That's not just like pageantry. They're not trying to show off. Look at what we're doing. It's like, no, there's a purpose. There's a strategic level purpose for that, and it's propaganda. And we have to fight with propaganda too. If you don't think the right doesn't fight with propaganda, that's stupid. All right. So, for example, talk about like all the Twitter DHS ICE videos with like all the cameos of the different music, like the Pokemon theme song and stuff like that. That's all propaganda. And then what that does is it influences these people like, hey, when you come here, you're going to waste thousands of dollars paying off the cartel to get you over the border, and we're still going to deport you. So not only does it help stem the flow even more, right? It also is like, oh, we should probably freaking leave. And then they add the layer of, we'll pay for you. If you self-deport, we'll give you $1,000 and a free flight back to your home country, and you can come back in. If you don't and we catch you, you are not being allowed back in ever again. See how that works? See how strategic that is? It's like, hey, we're pushing on the backside of them, pushing them forward, and then we're also enticing them from the front to get them like, hey, come this way. While they also have these giant incentives, like these giant sign-in bonuses for ICE officers in order to get these people and eventually get in and start getting hired and start actually getting the migrants. So like there's more to it, right? And that kind of stuff takes time. It's not just like I'm just going to go and he's not doing it fast enough. It's like, no, it's literally impossible. You would have to do martial law and go house to house in order to get them done as fast as you want it. So like I criticize that part. It also, like, the fracture of the right is like the economy. It's like, dude, I don't think you guys understand, because they kind of play into the corporate media affordability that no one cared about the last 5 years until now, apparently. And it's like, dude, inflation was literally out of control for 4 years. Like, inflation doesn't work like you just turn it off and immediately prices go down. All right? Inflation is a lot like gaining weight. In 2021, you gained 7 pounds of weight. In 2022, you gained 3 pounds of weight. In 2023, you gained 15 pounds of weight. In 2024, you gain, 1 pound. Cool. You didn't gain as much as you did the year before that, but you're still overweight. That's cumulative over that 4 years, right? That's still a problem. Okay? The problem is, and you can't have, with fiat money that we have, you can't have negative inflation. It does not exist. Which is why we're still in this where it's like, yeah, he's shut, like, and again, I have my criticisms of Trump. I made those known. I don't like some of the pageantry they do. I don't like some of the things PSS does and all the pageantry he does. But I'm more doing this on where the fraction of the right is coming from and the agitators that are pushing this on and what it kind of the optics it gives. So again, it's like you can't have that. It's never going to happen that way. You can get rid of taxes, which is what they did, and groceries and gas and all that stuff started to go down. You saw it. We're at 5-year low of gas right now, and we're at, like, groceries are steadily coming down because taxes are being cut depending on your state, right? But again, you still have issues because inflation is cumulative, and so you have to be able to do a steady over time, hey, low inflation, low inflation, low inflation, to allow wages to naturally go with inflation. Right? So, like, that's exactly what happens. And that's where we're at right now is like, well, and again, it's almost like this is kind of where I get the vibe. And I know that the conspiracy theory is Nick Fuentes is a Fed or he's some sort of operative. I used to believe that. I kind of believe that he could be like more of just like a political operative, if that makes sense. Just like, hey, years ago, they're like, we're going to pay you, some liberal entities just were like, we're going to pay you to go and say all this stuff and really play into the right-wing thing and then try to break the right from within. I could see that, maybe, because, like, no person in their right mind is going to tell their constituents as big as you are, especially if you actually care about America first. No one's going to sit there and tell you that, you know what, you just shouldn't vote for Republicans. It's like that's moronic. That makes zero sense because again, you have to play the game to get to the end state. You have to chip off at little things to get the end state. We're not playing a multi-day war or fight. We're doing a multi-decade war. All right. And when you do that, you open the floodgates for guys like Gavin Newsom and the AOCs of the world and people like that to come in and completely blow it up all over again. Like, you're opting for oblivion to prove a point, and you're still, like, it's like saying, like, it's literally like, it's like, you know what? I'm going to blow up the house to prove that it's not clean. Like, let's say you and your wife got in trouble, and it's like, or you and your wife got in a fight, and it's like, okay, well, you're not cleaning, you're not pulling your weight or whatever to whoever is at the home, right? In my house, I'm the breadwinner, and my wife is a stay-at-home mom. So it's like, okay, well, you don't pull enough weight. You're not keeping the house clean and all that. So I blow up the house, and I watch my family watch the house get blown up or burned down to the ground. Cool. Yeah, it may have proved a point, but now I'm homeless. That's exactly what Nick Fuentes and the America First crowd is trying to do with the 2026 and 28 elections. It's like, dude, that's moronic. You're literally like, you're going steps backwards in order to prove a point where in that point you may never get back control again. So it doesn't really make sense. That's where a lot of like the Nick Fuentes side and like I'm gonna go into like Tucker Carlson's a little bit. He's more like Tucker Carlson's interesting, right? Because like a lot of the America First people didn't like him and then they did like him because he was criticizing Israel. And it's like, dude, you're literally a first issue voter. It's like you're literally the same as the leftists that we have been trying to beat for a decade now, who are all about, like, your liberal women, for example, they're like all single issue voters. It's like abortion, and that's it. That's all they care about. And it's like, okay, really, of all the things that matter in daily life, that affect us in daily life, you're going to care about one thing, So it doesn't really make any sense. And that's the thing. Like, that's when I really saw it with the America First crowd, Nick Fuentes, because like these two were sworn enemies. He was saying he's a CIA Fed and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden they like sit down and then it's like, oh, mutual respect. I'm like, really? I'm like, you're either genuine or you're not. It's either you stick by your guns and you grill or you don't. But, Tucker Carlson is Tucker Carlson. I do agree that he should, like, the way he does things, his freedom of speech is great. I think he should always keep doing that because regardless of what side he's truly on or if he is any kind of weird operative or whatever, he's doing a better job than anyone else on the right wing. So I do think he needs to keep doing that. And I think he needs to keep taking it to people the way he has been. And again, I'm not saying I'm a hater of Nick Fuentes. I just see huge glaring issues with the continuity of his ideology, and it's like you're literally like opting for oblivion instead of just getting a step forward. You know, it just doesn't make sense. Um, and then you get in like Candace Owens, and now there's this whole feud between them, and that's where I start to think that some of this is orchestrated, and that's where I start to think some of them may be in on it together, like they are maybe some sort of political operatives together, because like Candace Owens is first of all a crackpot. Like I don't necessarily disagree that there's some freakish things going on with the Charlie Kirk thing, right? A lot of this happened for the fallout of Charlie Kirk, to be honest with you, and it looked sketch. Like Erica, the wife, is just out there fucking parading around. It's like, dude, I get it. And people say, well, people grieve differently. I'm like, dude, if I lost my wife, I would be, no one would see me for a month. Like, I would be absolutely, like, distraught. So, like, the way she's been carrying herself and how it's just, like, been swept under the rug and all that, it's like, the worst acting job in history. Now, again, I could be wrong, and maybe there was, but it was almost too showboaty. So, like, I get that part of Candace Owens, like, talking about how, well, there's a conspiracy theory and all this stuff. But I can't trust Candace, and here's why. Okay, and a lot of you are going to hate me because I said Candace was like a race grifter, civil rights journalist years ago. Like, she was a hack. And she realized she could make more money being on the right. So she went over to the right. And then she's, like, the more money she's gotten, like, oh, I got to keep it going further, right? So it's like, is she real? I don't know. You know, I don't know if I buy that. Like, you see her track record, and it's like, I don't know. Now I'm keeping tabs on the whole like Emmanuel Macron thing with Brigitte Macron, with the accusing her to be a man, because like she kind of does look like a man, to be honest with you. But that's beside the point. Like, it's gonna be very interesting when that comes out, because that's either gonna make or break her credibility. The little bit she did have. So I do actually, again, and I do agree with some of the stuff they're saying. But it's like, come on, what are you doing? And then, like, one of the bigger things, I think, the Epstein files. Now, that was a botch job, right? If there was really, like, just all of it is such a botch job. Now, people are going to sit there and they're reactionary, whether you're left or right. It's like, oh, he's in it then. It's like, okay, well, you didn't even care about him. Like, if you're on the left, for example, I call you out, and I'm like, you didn't even care about this stuff for the last, like, 4 years. Like, all of a sudden, because he's hiding it now, you're like, oh, yeah, no, do it. It's like, shut the fuck. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's just ridiculous. Get out of here. You don't give a fuck. Like, and then, like, all the Democrats are sharing, like, public photos of him at, like, Miss Universe bikini pageants and shit, and then blacking out the names and passing it off as being like, this was in the Epstein files. Like, no, it's fucking, literally, I can Google the same picture, and it's right there, and it shows exactly where it is. Like, that's been a bot job on the Democrats. They've been really struggling. Again, they're really reaching for things. They're struggling bad. So it's funny to watch on that end. But the Republicans, it's like, oh, Epstein file, all this stuff. I'm like, dude, I don't think you understand. Like, this is my opinion on it, because I'm a big, I used to believe in all that shit and think like the Epstein files was this crazy giant pedo ring. It still maybe, I don't know, could be wrong. The more this keeps getting dragged out, and this is the most realistic thing to me now, is that I think Jeffrey Epstein was tied to Israel. I do. I think he was a CIA asset. I do believe that. I think he was a CIA asset in the sense of informing on people because he was rich and had all these ties. I believe that. I don't think his pedo ring was the end game. I think he was just an old perv that liked trafficking young women for his own pleasure. I truly believe that, because what I've seen now is two sides try to weaponize the same documents and give nothing of substance and just keep on recycling the same shit, right? So what does that tell me? Yet there's still no, like, over years and years now, there's no definitive thing. Man, I'm just going to lay this out here, and I think everyone can use this conversation. If Trump was truly implicated in it, he would already be in jail, and this would have happened years ago, right after Biden got elected, 100%. All right, so, like, the way they're dragging it out on both sides makes me believe that it's more of like, hey, maybe Trump and them believed that there was a pedo ring. Because remember, like, if you look at the history of Trump and Epstein, they weren't actually friends. They were in a lot of, like, same groups, but they were more like acquaintances. They were actually rivals They did not like each other, and that's been documented multiple times. They did not like each other at all. Um, Epstein literally was a con man. There's actually a great piece that the New York Times did on that. And he was a huge con man, but he hated Trump because he used to call Trump a con man, which is hilarious. Um, so like they've never liked each other. And again, it's court documents, and there is court documentation that Trump uh, informed, not really informed because he wasn't a formal informant. He aided in his trial in 2006, in Epstein's trial in 2006. The FBI, he aided the FBI, and he wasn't like a formal informant, if that makes sense. But he did help them quite a bit on it because again, he was in the same groups though, and there was that still underlying. Well, Jeffrey's one of those guys. It's like the Weinstein thing. It's like, well, everyone kind of knows what's going on, but they're not going to talk about it. Like, okay, like that's kind of freaky, dude. But whatever. Like, we're all rich and whatnot. And Trump even banned him from Mar-a-Lago, one of his resorts, for hitting on the Miss Virginia there, and trying to take her to be one of his little traffic victims. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, like if you see the tracker, it doesn't really make sense. So like both sides, especially the America First crowd and like the liberals, are trying to like be like, oh, he's actually in it. It's like I doubt it. He's mentioned in it because it came up in court documents. And every single victim has said he's not implicated, and I've never seen him in general in any capacity, you know? So I think that Trump and that camp believed it going into this election. And I think they thought, oh, this will be it's huge. I think this will be this will be a great, like, a voting piece, right? Like, people are going to vote for me if I say I'm going to release these. And I think they thought they were going to find something. And do you know what I think? I think they got there and realized there's fucking nothing, but they had to try to show for it. And I think it was all just redacted files and old shit. And I think they decided that, you know what, we're just going to keep egging this on to try to politically use it, to weaponize against the Democrats. And I think the Democrats started doing the same thing. And that's why you're seeing both sides just slowly leak out shit that's already been released, because they're like just trying to milk this for everything it is now as a political weapon. I think that's exactly what it is. I think the only things that are redacted are just the missions that was under the intelligence communities that were involved with Epstein as an informant. I think that's the most realistic option at this point, because like there's no other motive, and you see like these judges sealing stuff, like these liberal judges that keep sealing it or denying the unsealing rather, that the administration tries to do. And it's like, okay, what's going on here? And the only thing I can think of is like little money on the table. Democrats are like, don't unseal it so we can make it look like Trump's still hiding it. And then Trump's in there releasing all these documents, but then like partially redacted so they can at least protect the intelligence agencies in it, or the intelligence apparatus that was involved. And it's just like a whole clusterfuck. But the right is being weaponized against the right in these like camps, which is what fuels a lot of the Nick Fuentes and the other people, because they're like, oh, well, he must be in it. But it's like, what if Trump is telling the truth? Like, what if it was weaponized? What if it was a foreign agency weaponizing it and starting this? We saw with the Russia collusion thing. I mean, that turned out to be a complete fucking like, that was fake. The Steele dossier, that was a complete fake thing. And the lawyer who pursued Trump for Russian collusion is literally in jail right now for Russian collusion. So you got to sit there and think like, okay, what if he is right? What if Trump's telling the truth? What if it is all just bullshit? And what if all the judges won't let him unseal it, so he can't redact anything? So he's just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna tell them and hope they think I'm telling the truth. Like, what if they got there? I actually think that's the case. I could be wrong, 100%. But I think that's literally the case. I think they got there thinking, oh, this is going to be a great political movement, and we're going to throw the Epstein files in this, and we're going to unveil all this shit, and we're going to be rated as heroes. And then they got there and realized it was all just a bunch of bogus bullshit. It was all psyop. I'm starting to think that, because it's just like, at this point, it's like, how the fuck did we get here? Like, what is going on, man? Like, I don't know. The Epstein files gets weird, right? I understand people's frustration, but the more and more I hear about it, the more I'm just like, maybe it is just all bullshit, and maybe each party is just milking this as much as they can to get political gain on the other side. Like implicate the other side. Like all the Republicans release all the shit that Bill Clinton, and then the Democrats are going to literally taking images off of Google and pairing these images with redacted faces and putting it on there, and then putting them with other Epstein files to make it look like they're Epstein files and all this shit. It's like, what is going on? It's like, I truly believe that the modern politician doesn't understand that we have like social media. I don't think they understand the grasp of it, because a lot of like the Chuck Schumers and Pelosi's and Biden's, I just don't think they understand that. I don't think they understand that I can go back on a YouTube video and I can go find a clip of them saying this thing or believing this thing or voting for this thing or whatever, and then they're literally saying in front of my face that none of that's true, and then I can literally clip them and find the exact time where they believed that 2 years prior. I don't know. It just seems fishy, but a lot of that's like those things that I mentioned are a lot of what the fraction of the right is coming to. But the affordability thing, it's just, again, bureaucracies like this, man, they take so much time. Like, I don't think people really understand. Even Doge, right? We talk about Doge. I really wanted it to work out, but even they, like, this monster is so big when it comes to corruption and the ties and all that. Like, I think Elon Musk just thought I was going to go in here and treat it exactly like I did Twitter, and he was sorely mistaken, because you're talking about jobs that are essentially protected by contracts, and all government jobs are contracted essentially to where you can't really get fired. Like, you have to do something heinous to get fired. We talk about it in the military all the time. It's like, yeah, I can do it. That's why there's shitbags in the military, right? So I'm not going to get fired. Shit, I'll get demoted before I get fired, right? So I can get 7 DUIs, and the worst thing that I'm going to get is back to E1, and I'm going to stay in, So I don't know. There a lot of that stuff with the right now. I just hope people really listen to this, and I hope they hear me out on some of these arguments. It's like, your America First friends, I get what they're doing, and I believe in a lot of the things that they believe in. I do. Where it's like, you need to prioritize American people. But we just don't live in the world anymore where we can be isolationist to a T like we want to be. It's just not the real picture anymore. We have aircraft and bombers and stuff like that where our enemies could literally get every single other country and completely surround us, and then, cool, you're in a communist dictatorship, right? That's the most extreme, like unlikely. But that's what I'm saying, like, our idea that we can't have allies in any capacity is just false. We have to have some. I don't agree with just giving them free loads of money. I don't believe in just throwing money at them and just all the fraud, because, again, like, a lot of the fraud comes from these Pelosi's type figures, and what they do is they go behind closed doors with USAID, who's the financial boss head, to make it look like, we're doing something with a good cause. And I go into with some African junta, and they say, hey, what do you want? And they're like, well, I want $10 million, and I want a water treatment plant. They're like, okay, you don't need $10 million for a water treatment plant here. They're like, yes, but if you give me $10 million, I will give this congressman who votes for me back $2 million. Okay, we'll make that deal. And then, like, all that shit happens, and then, like, a year later, the water treatment plant is literally like a pipe in the ground. Those guys just took it. It's like, that's exactly what happens. Like, that's literally what happens. And the congressmen shut up because they get fucking payment back, and they get the kickbacks from it. So, again, I get it. We got to weed out corruption. We got to do all this stuff. We got to prioritize Americans first. But not voting for a side that you're closer to is literally evident. It's like, that's a recipe for complete disaster. Again, you're choosing to voluntarily make everyone around you that you care about suffer more for the sake of your belief in one subject. That's not logical. It's highly irrational, and it's just blatantly stupid. And I'm not saying to just drop your convictions. I'm not saying that. But, like, you have to make the little steps first to get to your end line. Like, it's like a football game, right? I'm going to use that analogy a lot. It's like sometimes you got to fucking run the ball and you got to fucking pick up 3-4 yards at a time. Just get the first down. Get the first down, and eventually you'll hit the end zone. But if you just stop winning, if you just go threes and outs just because you're pissed off, yeah, you're not going to win because you're not scoring. You know? You're not scoring. Look at Obama. I think it's a perfect example of someone who just won. They won because they won the 20-meter, 30-meter target. And, like, look at, they're still fighting. He knew shit that he passed was unconstitutional. Obama knew that shit. He didn't care. It was, I'm going to pass this because I know our judicial system is going to go into the fucking courts, and it's going to take 10, 20, 30 years. And by that point, no one's going to want to fuck with it. Right? That's the kind of game in politics you have to play. You have to win the little battles. And I encourage the right, like, you guys want to complain, right? And you guys want to complain about shit still not being golden, you know, because of this administration, regardless of why you think so. Like, get the fuck out and vote in special elections. None of you vote. None of you vote in special elections. You are so much more touched by your local governments and your city councils and your committees and shit like that. You have no idea how much that fucking affects your daily life. Your state and local governments kill you, which is why the liberals crush in that shit, because they get out and fucking vote. And this is all to the conservatives too. I hope this gets out to all of you, like all you boomer conservatives and all that. Like, bro, you guys all are terrible at voting in special elections and midterms. You're god-awful at it. You're god-awful at local elections as well. And that's why you get these city council members that are these hyper-leftist hacks that are running your cities into the ground, letting all these, like, again, DAs, city council, district court judge, I guess those really aren't voted on necessarily, but, like, these people, they're ruining your lives, your local governments. They're the problem. It's not, like, the federal government's inflated, but that's a giant bureaucracy. You're not going to change that yourself. That's going to take decades of work to change. But your local governments, oh, you can change those immediately. You can see differences immediately. Okay? So like when people sit there, especially like right-wingers, sit there and say like, "Oh, I'm just not going to vote Republican." I'm like, "You didn't anyway. You only voted for Republican when it suited you. You only voted for a side for a better cause when it suited you. When you got so fed up, and it's going to be the same cycle." And this is like, especially like libertarians, like classic libertarians, they do this a lot where they're like, when one party's doing bad that they voted for, they just start like shitting on them for it. Like, "Oh, well, that's not what I voted for, but I voted for him anyway." It's like, bro, if you just go doing that, you are never going to win. And you're going to do exactly what the libertarians did in 2020, where they dropped Trump because he wasn't good enough. He wasn't independent enough. He wasn't whatever enough. And then all of a sudden, you have 4 years of Biden, and you're sitting there chomping at the bit to vote red all the way down the ballot, because you're like, "Well, I don't want any more of that." And then you come here, and it's like instant gratification you didn't get, like a toddler. And all of a sudden, you're like, "Oh, I'm not going to vote for another Republican again in my life." It's like, that's stupid. That's dumb. That is as stupid as it gets. Because, again, there's a bigger picture. There's a macro here. All right? So, that it was a long-winded of saying, like, these people are okay to guide rails and, like, to talk ideology. Do not listen to them in their actions. Do not. Okay? Because, like, these people make a lot of money. Half of them are lying. The Nick Fuentes, like, half of them are lying about the situations they actually live in. You know? And they're trying to, if they're trying to tell you not to vote, like Nick is, that's a huge red flag. Because it's like, well, what's your purpose then? Right? Like, what is your purpose here to talk about all this political stuff? And the only thing you can do to change it and to make action happen is by what? Not voting? I mean, the only thing you can do is vote. Like, that's the only thing you get to change the outcome of something. And he's telling you not to use that, not to exploit that. Like, the right doesn't get out and protest like the left does, so you're not going to fucking do that. You can sit there and be like, "Well, we have jobs." Like, cool, dude. Guess what? I hate to break to you. They also have jobs. All right? So, like, you better get out and vote. "Well, I'm not going to vote because Nick told me to, and I'm not liking Israel." I'm like, yeah, well, I don't like Israel either. I don't like that whole construct anyway. But I know that there's a bigger picture here for my family and my daughters and all that shit that matters. So I'm going to get my ass out to fucking vote. Now, I'm not just going to blindly vote Republican. I vote for the better candidate. All right? I do. I vote for the person I actually agree with more often. All right? That takes research, something that our generation does not fucking truly understand. They don't understand context. We don't understand context. Our generation is so bad. Now, it's way worse on the left, but it's starting to show its ugly head on the right, where we do not put contextual reality into play when it comes to making decisions, especially politically. We're terrible at it. Like context, for example, immigration and how long it takes to remove those kind of people. Well, Obama did it here. Yeah, Obama did it fucking over 10 years ago, dude. That was 10 fucking years ago. The laws are completely different. You know, the red tape you have to go through is completely different to mobilize something like that. And that was likely on purpose. Like, to be honest with you, that was probably on purpose, you know? Like, well, we can't sit there and get rid of the border code when it comes to, you know, you can detain and deport anyone who is illegal at any time, which is, again, black and white in U.S. border code. But it doesn't matter because they're never going to get rid of that because they look like, then they show all their cards, right? It's like, oh, we actually don't believe in borders, we don't believe in America, and we don't believe in the Constitution, we don't believe in any of this. We want to completely wipe it clean. Now that goes into a different theory of like the left actually being communist, which they're getting close. Like they're actually hijacked right now by like communists or close, right? That's not an exaggeration. That's not like the left who calls the right fascist. That's like way off base because they're ignorant on what the term means. The left is actually getting close to communism. And that it shows in some of their tactics, but that's going into a different episode, right? Like I'll get into that as we start evolving together here, and we'll get into more of that kind of stuff later. But anyway, just consider that and consider what I said, because like any right-wing person or a person who is America first that cares about the country and then tells you not to vote for the better side at the time, to opt for oblivion, which if you don't vote, that is a vote for the other side. That is a fact. All right, especially for the right. It's not so much the left. And the reason why it's not so much the left is because they have more people to vote in these kind of elections. The right does not vote well on its own. All right, it needs a coalition, like with libertarians, like with more right-wing groups, with some left-wing. Like, it needs a coalition. All right, because rural people don't fucking vote. They don't drive because they're lazy. All right. Well, I'm on a farm and I live 45 minutes. Well, get your fucking happy ass up and vote. I don't want to see your pro-life billboard going down the highway in the Midwest, and the first thing I find out is you haven't voted in 3 cycles. I don't want to fucking hear it, man. You know, so rural people need to get out and fucking vote. Stop being fucking lazy. Do your goddamn job. It's a lot of you older boomers. You know who I'm fucking talking about. So get them out there. Fucking get after them. You need to vote in locals. Your city councils matter. Your district attorneys matter. They're the ones letting all the criminals out. They're the ones letting all this shit happen. They're the ones doing that because they're hyper leftists. And because the leftists in inner cities vote more than the fucking, even though they're in a county, the rural Americans that are more right-wing around the cities or the suburbans, they don't drive to vote. Well, I have a job. Stop. If you got to take leave on that day. Straight up. Because, like, your livelihoods actually count on voting. And the inaction of voting is far more vile than that of not. Like, it's ridiculous. All right? So any right-wing influencer or someone who claims they're America first that says, like, don't vote for Republicans or don't vote at all, right? That's ridiculous. Especially when they're talking about, like, especially when they're starting to talk about voting for Gavin Newsom because he's white. Like, that's ridiculous. That is an absolute, that's malarkey. Because it's like, bro, like, again, that makes zero logical sense, which is what feeds into the, oh, Nick Fuentes is a Fed. It's like, that's the kind of shit that makes him look like it. Like, that's the kind of shit that makes him look like a political operative. Where he gets a big enough following, then right when he gets big enough fame, all of a sudden he's telling Republicans not to vote. You know? Now, again, I could be wrong. But it sure does look like it to me. I don't know about you. Like, it's like, hey, dog, like, that doesn't look good. Because I can tell you right now, it doesn't matter if me and you disagree. I am never going to tell you not to vote. Ever. The only people I'm going to tell not to vote are liberal women, and that's because I think they're actually like partially the problem with Western civilization, because again, they vote for whatever makes them aligned with victimhood, or they vote to make themselves victims because it gives them the attention that they want, and they put all their emotional equity into what they believe politically to become that. Um, and there's just no changing that. That's more like a satirical, suggestion. But yeah, don't get out and vote. It's fucking stupid. If you're sitting there and you're saying like, well, I don't like what they're doing right now because of Israel or whatever, it's like, dude, it takes fucking time. But guess what's going to take more time? If you lose the midterms, that's going to destroy you. And I don't fucking like Lindsey Graham. I don't like Ted Cruz. I don't like any of those people because you can tell they're bought off by AIPAC. I'm completely for you. However, then get the fuck out and get the fuck out there and vote for someone who can challenge them. Campaign for someone who can challenge them. Or take the fucking loss, vote for someone you definitely don't want to because they're probably a better option than what you're going to get on the left. For sure right now. Because right now the left, again, is doubling down on their hyper-leftism, and that's not good. That's not good. Like, these right-wing people voting for Mamdani, they're claiming they're voting for Mamdani and, like, saying, like, oh, this guy's right just because he's anti-Israel or whatever. It's like, dude, you're an idiot. Like, it's so stupid. Like, you're, again, opting for oblivion. And that if you have kids and you have that notion, like, you should be trying to make a world better for your kids, not so much your instant gratification. You opting for someone who's going to tank your economy and turn you into a communist welfare state is not it, pal. And you're going to find out. Again, like, you are going to find out. There is a part of me, there's a slight part of me. First of all, I really liked Mamdani winning because it's a good sample size. It's big enough on the national stage to see it fail live and see people ride, like, literally, like, Wall Street's gonna leave, and that's all the money New York has now. So, like, it's kind of fun, but, like, I kind of want to see it in other places too, because again, the America First crowd, you don't want to vote. I want to see that shit happen, and then you're gonna sit there and complain, and you're gonna try to make it, well, this is the Republicans' fault. It's like, no, it's not. It's yours. All right, it's yours. It is your fault. All right, put on a fucking pair of nuts. Fucking figure out who your candidates are. Vote in goddamn locals. And hey, if it comes down to a fucking Ted Cruz type AIPAC guy, but some communist nut job on the other, yeah, I'm gonna compromise a little bit to go with the fucking AIPAC guy because I know the other one on the other side is far worse for me and my family in the future. Period. Dot. You think the immigration's slow now? If the Democrats take back the freaking House, bro, you're fucked. Like, we're never deporting another person again if they do that. They're gonna pass so many ridiculous laws. Like, it's gonna be ridiculous. You're never gonna get through that red tape at that point. So, again, stop being bitches. And like these alpha, like, you guys trying to act like you're alpha is fucking pathetic. Like Nick Fuentes and those people, like, you're acting like you're some like you sound like a fucking whiny toddler. Again, I'm on your guys' side for most of the things we believe in. I'm not as extreme, but I get where you're coming from, right? One of the few. But what your temper tantrum that you're running right now, it's fucking stupid. I mean, that's all I can say. It's stupid. It's actually freaking moronic. So anyway, this is a Letter to the Left podcast, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe. I'm working towards that. Again, this is only the second podcast, so I understand, like, most people are not going to see this for a while. But please, if you guys like it, go ahead and please comment as well. Like, comments, tell me what you think, tell me what you like, tell me your political opinions and what you agree with, what you disagree with. And especially early birds, I'm probably going to respond because, well, I don't have any followers or subscribers yet. So, I'll probably try to hit you up or something. And again, as we start moving forward in the podcast, the Friday episode will be a whiskey day. So I'll go over one of the bar I have in the back here. If you want to look, I can't see it because of the mic, but whatever. The bar I have in the back, I'll go over it and which one I have, and then we'll dive right into the subject of that day. And eventually I want to get to where my Fridays are live. So, like, where I actually have a live comment section and I can actually talk to you guys live about it and get to that point. Right now I'm just doing recordings because it works better for my schedule because I still work like a normal human being. But anyway, yeah, that's it. So have a good one. God bless. Have a good time and get the fuck out and vote. Don't be bitches about it. Jesus Christ.